Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another One Piece manga review. Well, I guess this episode is more of a full discussion, but we are here reviewing One Piece chapter 1153. I am one of your hosts, Mr. Lyn and Versen, joined by your other host, Mr. Joshua Trostclair, aka Versen the Vassal. V-Man, it's been a while. Look, I messaged you. I needed some time just to take a little break, get my shit together going into the summer. I had other shows, other stuff that we just had to, just get together. You had stuff in your life going on, but I am glad to finally be back post break, and we're locking in. How you doing, sir?
Doing pretty good. Getting started on my brand new job.
Nice.
That's locked in. Getting my first paycheck, hopefully Monday.
Nice.
So, doing what I can. Glad to be back.
Speaking of work, I started door dashing on the side. I don't know if you know that. I don't know if I said that in our group. I think I might have.
Yeah, I think you mentioned offhand because you were talking about how you have to really make sure that whenever you log onto your DoorDash, you're in the right area.
Yeah.
If not, they will send you literally everywhere.
Bro, the funniest thing, and I know I do DoorDash adventures on the Bros Who Think podcast, which will have a whole section on this upcoming podcast, but I'll just tell you because you know the area. Bro, they sent me to Home Depot in the Broussard area, the new one next to the Walmart. They sent me all the way into fucking Parks Versen to deliver 2 paint cans, bro. And because it was all the way in Parks, they had a thing on the way. I had to go to Albertsons and deliver a coffee, a cold brew bottle, some creamer, and 2 cookies and cream Hershey bars. I got $45 for that thing, but it was just damn, I gotta go all the way to fucking Parks, bro. Trash.
I was gonna say, man, that's got me feeling a certain type of way because I've only been to Parks twice whenever I was doing a job with Sherwin Williams, and it was the middle of bumfuck nowhere.
Middle of nowhere,
you can DoorDash at Parks, and yet where I live, I can barely get DoorDash ever. Granted, I don't really use it a lot, but there are a lot of places that are just no, we're not doing that. And
so
the 2 times I've DoorDash, by the way, the people stole the order, so I can't even DoorDash to my place because the last 2 times that it happened, they just ate the food and ran.
That's so fucked, bro. When you sign up to be a dasher, they give you it's serious. If you steal someone's food, you'll never be able to dash ever again. You're done. So, and that's crazy. They don't let you. So my thing is, I deliver for the Lafayette area, but I guess if you live outside the area, you have to pay extremely more to get it delivered to Parks. I think you would have to have a dasher in New Iberia decide. Exactly, yeah. And honestly, bro, I'm gonna be real with you. They have the ability to turn that shit down. I'm pretty sure some of them people just they don't want to drive out there because I'm not gonna lie. When it tells me to go to Crowley, I turn that shit down. Crowley's too far out there to the left. I don't mind driving to St. Martinville, Parks, Bro Bridge because being that we're from New Iberia, I know that area well. I don't know Crowley, Rain, Doosan, all that weird shit to the left. Fuck that.
Yeah, that's whenever it starts getting a little bit
is this a sundown town? It's no longer swamp people. It's more, ooh.
Yeah, they call that no man's land for a reason. A lot of people did not settle there.
Yeah, facts. Big facts. But glad to be back. So we know it's been a while since we've talked One Piece. So we do have a plan. We know we're here to review chapter 1153. But before we do that, there's obviously a lot of stuff has happened, and Versen and I wanted to talk on some of the stuff that's happened. So, Versen, what do you think is the most important thing that's happened since we've been away? Let's see if we have the same idea of what's been the most important thing.
We met the goddamn devil.
Yes, okay, boom, perfect. Emu's powers, Domi Reversi. Let's jump into all of this. First, I got to give you credit because you said it from the jump. When we met the Gorosei, you were like, bro, I don't think this is devil fruit. I think this is legit devil magic. And boy, did you hit it on the head. It's not just devil magic. It's the fucking devil, bro. So how far do you think this goes? Like, do you think he made a contract with the real devil? Do you think he has a devil, the legendary devil fruit, the devil model, Satan? Like, talk to me what you're thinking about Emu.
Well, I feel like what some people like forget about whenever we saw, and granted, it was hard for us to know this until we saw the mural of the three worlds.
Mm-hmm.
The first mural straight up says there was a time before devil fruits.
True, it did.
Straight up,
it did.
I am kind of on that same kick where I think some people have been, but we've been out to the wind of it because we didn't have anything as concrete. But like there was a word before devil fruits, maybe a normal one, maybe whatever, or maybe it was kind of
the first
still ancient. Because I go back and forth on it's like either an Adventure Time situation where shit popped off and everything's kind of magic, or if it was like no, it was pretty much caveman shit. But
I'm really on the line of it was like you said, the first one, it's Adventure Time, and it decayed specifically because of one line from this chapter. And since we're talking about it now, I can say the line and we'll jump to it later. But inside the chapter, they Harold asked his Hyrudine's mom, "You went over the blood-soaked serpent?" And everybody's like, blood-soaked serpent. They were like, "You mean the red line?" So that's telling me that serpent we see in the first world might have been real before whatever the red line. So there's so much intrigue to all of that, and those buildings look real. So I'm with you. I think it was 100% some Adventure Time shit.
Yeah, but like they say that, and then it's not until like the second world and the fall of it or whatever that we start actually seeing devil fruits pop up. I'm pretty sure that like whatever made a contract, or if somehow Eam just locked into that, is basically the devil. I don't think, but the thing is, I think it's a contract or it's just something that's occurred. I don't think Emu ever ate a damn devil.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Especially with the way that everything is set up. Now, granted, I guess they could always do a hill turn of like, that's all propaganda about being hated by the sea and then in the devil clan or whatever and all that being the will of D. But like, yeah, I don't know. Like, it just feels like it's like kind of a different thing. Although I do also maintain that wherever Emu is now probably has some level of control over the devil fruit tree, whatever that ends up being, like devil fruits have managed to breach containment and they're out in the world because they're people's dreams, and on some level they want to get out there and be
because they have souls and shit. Like they're trying to meet the match of the person who can fulfill their will. Like we've always known, devil fruits have a mind of their own.
Which the more that goes on, and granted, I don't want to tamp it down too much because we know that obviously the Nika fruit is probably the one with the most free soul of them all, so it can do the most. But I mean, people who like are good at the devil fruits or whatever seem to find devil fruits that at least fit with them. Like I think Ace getting the Mary no Mi, even though fate basically stepped in to deny Ace, I fully believe it. The Nika fruit.
I feel like he was more suited for the Mara, Like Ace being so rigid and being so like Whitebeard is the king, that's not the Nika fruit, bro. Like at all.
And I don't think he would have had the patience.
No, not at all. Or the imagination to do all this other stuff, do all these other gears to lead us to Gear 5. I don't know if you'd have unlocked it, bro.
Yeah, well, like, I think it's something that, again, people forget or whatever, but like whenever we first see Luffy, granted he is a child, when he eats it, like the Gummo meat objectively sucks. It is hard to use. You turn into like a puddle practically half the time. Like
you got to train. Luffy trained for like damn near 5 to 7 years to master that damn fruit to figure out how to use it.
Yeah, it's why whenever he first pops out of the East Blue or whatever, he is strong because he's been doing nothing but busting ass this whole time.
It was a big deal for him to beat the Sea King because it was like, oh, I finally mastered my ability to stretch out. But also not just stretch out, but I have to have enough power to affect this giant beast.
Yeah, so I think at that point, like, that's an early thing. It's why, outside of some contrivances or whatever, he doesn't really have too much issues with any of his fights until you get to about Erlong.
So, yeah, no, man, this is very interesting. I definitely believe that Emu is the devil. Now, or it has a devil contract, but to the point.
Yeah, there's different ways to go about it.
Yeah,
like
I just don't think it's a devil fruit.
Yeah, I do agree with some people who are like, it might be almost an Orochimaru thing where like they're doing the body passed down. That it could be Nefertari Lily right now. Maybe wants to be VV or at least kill VV. Things like that. Like, I definitely think there's more to it than that, but I don't think. Granted, now that this is ever kind of been an issue for a devil fruit user, especially in the post time skip. We're not gonna the person who we drowned in water is not gonna end up being Emu. That is not going to be like the way that it ends or whatever. I don't
Yeah,
even
no,
know
we're
if
not
that
doing
affects
Kaido
them.
Big Mom Part 2. No.
Yeah, I don't know if that's like the water's going to affect them like that, or even Sea Stone necessarily. I don't know. We have like I think a big part of that is we have to see if it affects the people they make contracts with.
True.
Although, as I say this, the only people, correct me if I'm wrong, the only people we know for a fact Emu has even taken over. Well, no, never mind. That was the Giants actually disprove it, but until then, it was
Yeah.
only.
It was Gunko, but we did see Saturn, and we know the Gorosei, like
Yeah,
they could do that. So
yeah, but again, like devil fruit users or contract.
true.
Like,
But I mean, those powers might be through the contract. You know what I'm saying? Like
exactly. Yeah.
So but
like the power source is kind of like difficult to tell. Although we do know that strong hockey can disrupt that connection.
Yes, and we'll get to the hockey port. Let's do that last before we start the chapter, because that's the most like slanders, I guess, agendas we have, because it's very interesting. But Domi Reversi, oh man, that changes everything. That makes me think Luffy's going to have something to counter that and have like liberating white warriors and shit like that. But the fact that Emu can transform anybody against their will and make them be a part of his demon army, bro, badass. Didn't see that coming.
Yeah, I agree. Especially like the Giants or whatever. Like,
yeah,
I would have put Dorian Broggy as some of the last on the list for that.
Like, I thought they could have beat it mentally,
Yeah, but like I don't know, like because they are strong, they are something to be feared, and they are Sanji and Zoro parallels. So like I have so much respect for the Giants, especially the ones who are still doing warrior shit like Dorian Broggy, because I think a lot of us would have expected it from some of the townsfolk who aren't maybe on that level anymore.
Maybe y'all,
Yeah, but oh yeah, Ja Rule.
Yeah, even though Ja Rule didn't turn yet, so I'm very interested in what's going on with him.
Yeah, and honestly, the sword in his head might
affect that. Like
whatever.
And we're gonna talk about that with this week's episode.
Like whatever part of the brain might be like the part that like it's taken over or whatever might literally be cut in half right now.
So yeah, the Domi Reversi thing, super, super interesting. Also, like, I love that their axes change, the weapons change. Like, it's a full-on change, bro. Like, they made bigger creatures, bigger monsters. Like, that shit is insane. I did not expect that at all. And like the spread in chapter 1150, when you just see them 1150, when they first do it and you just see them doing their thing, it is so badass, bro. It's on the level almost of when we first see the Gorosei all lined up, because we did not expect that, bro. It's literally Dorian Broggy all with devil wings, devil horns, tridents, big ass axes, and all their friends, and they're like, yo, this is the power of Elbaf. And then in that same chapter to see Gunko with her big ass bat wings, the trident, it's like, oh, this is serious. And then the fact that she pulled out a gun out of thin air made me think how Luffy pulled those goggles out of thin air. It makes me think that this is the yin to Luffy's yang or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's very much like Luffy and Nika together are like the power of people's dreams and potential and like other wants and desires.
You think this is the power of people's fears and shit?
Like, yeah, like fears and then like the evil that you do when no one else is watching, basically. Like, because like there's potential in every human to do the deepest, darkest, grimiest shit, but also there's the ability to fight off that it, no matter what the world does to you, if you have the will to keep going or whatever, you can do that, and you can also break those chains for others.
Yep.
Now that obviously does bring in a case of what Blackbeard does, because we're kind of seeing, I think, similar parallels. Luffy and Blackbeard have always been a parallel, like Dark versus like the Moonlight and everything.
Do you think
and we're getting that with Emu too? So like,
I'm very interested. I'm glad you brought Blackbeard up, because I've been thinking about Blackbeard a lot. To me, Gecko Moria becomes very important, because I believe that Emu was foreshadowed with Gecko Moria, with all the shadows and everything. I'm very interested in Blackbeard now having Moria, but is his fruit version, do you think it's going to just be this dark fruit, or is it going to be like Luffy where there's some hidden thing behind it? The more and more we're going, I'm thinking there's a hidden thing behind it. I think he has a plan by having Katarina Devon and now having fucking Gecko Moria, because Gecko Moria is basically Domi Reversi, but in its own way, you know what I'm saying? So like, that shit is so interesting, whatever Blackbeard's doing. And then you throw on the fact that we have Lafitte at Mary Joa. Blackbeard about to cook something up.
Yeah, I really can't wait to see what his like 5D chess move or whatever is. Like,
yeah,
because you gotta keep in mind, he did hunt for like Law.
He hunted for specific fruits too, you know?
Yeah, you know, and he wants fruits, and it's not like the Beast Pirates where, you know, they eventually were like, we want like artificial whatever the fuck, like,
so we have an army.
Yeah, the Smiles where it's like, yeah, you're a double fruit user, but like we can't guarantee that they're even really good fruits. It's just all Zoans and like Timu Zoan fruits or whatever. But like Blackbeard never once went up to like Caesar. Granted, obviously we don't know how much he knows, but he was never like, hey Caesar, hand me like some Paramecias or hand me a crate of the Zoans. No, he's hunting with his Devil Fruit Encyclopedia like it's his damn Bible, and he's looking for the specific shit. Like he wanted the Boa Hancock Devil Fruit and everything. Like he wants the cream of the crop, you know?
Yep. So it makes it very interesting what Blackbeard's gonna do, especially in this Emu era. Is it possible that Blackbeard is trying to steal Emu's power?
I'm thinking that, yeah, like I've always maintained that I kind of thought Blackbeard already had a Zoan, but like, but if he didn't, and if this is a power that can be stolen, which again, wouldn't that be a bitch if like he does all this planning or whatever, and then
he
he's
can't
like,
steal it?
Yeah, and then he gets Emu under the damn cloak or whatever, and then Emu in the darkness is like, oh, no,
I was born from it, brother.
Yeah, this is all natural. And then he puts hands on him.
He might have to make a contract. What if he's trying to steal the Abyss or get some form of contract? Something. I definitely am with you that Blackbeard, there's something 5D coming, and I'm very, very, very interested to see what that is. All right, what else do you think we should? Go ahead. Well,
I was gonna say, if that does happen, which could happen, Blackbeard's only ever gonna let that happen if he can do it for a short time, just like how he used the Warlord system for, at the end of the day, like 5 minutes when you really get into it, because the timeline of One Piece is so compressed. He was maybe there for like a literal week in universe.
Yeah, I was say just a week, bro. That's about
just enough time to turn in Ace, go down, and get out.
A month max, a month.
Like, so I see him open to doing something with Eam, but like he's only going to do it if he thinks he can bust out of it. Now, I will say that doesn't mean he'll succeed.
Facts.
But like Luffy and Blackbeard are their own type of the freest man in the world.
And like, bro, my respect for Blackbeard has gone up so much, knowing that he scarred Shanks. And we're going to get into, well, I guess we can talk about that now because that's not in this chapter. But we see a mark on Shanks' arm when he's chilling with Gabon that looks very similar to the Holy Knight's mark. And it's on the arm that the Sea King bit. Version, to me, this makes Shanks that much cooler because I feel like he let that Sea King bite him and it affirmed his resolve. Is it possible that he did that because he couldn't do what he wanted? Because maybe if you have that mark, Eam can always see you, can always track you, always know where you are type shit.
Yeah, I'm definitely like leaning credence into that. I still don't necessarily know if it was planned that way because Lord of the Coast is so it's strong. It is like a Sea King, at least variant, if not a full
You just wouldn't
Sea
expect that to take it, you know.
Yeah, we've seen Luffy could smack that thing in the face before he got any sort of anything, and now we're dealing with the same people who should have that kind of region. You know, I do think it might be a case of Eam was like
tracking him,
or at least purposely letting it slip a little bit because there was a defiance. You know,
I don't think he had the immortality shit either at that point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
the hyper region.
No, I think it was more so like we're keeping tabs on you, Shanks, to see if you're really going to do what you. I'm guessing he like infiltrated, was like learning things about them and told them, hey, yeah, I'll join y'all. And I'm guessing it was like we're putting this on you to see if you're serious about joining us type shit.
Yeah, like a gang tat almost.
Yeah,
or more accurately, like a burn. So it's like everywhere you go, people know you're affiliated.
He got an Apple AirTag injected into his arm.
But funny you say Apple AirTag, it does make me think that at least on some level, Eames abilities are like maybe a little bit closer than we think it is, because we haven't seen any of this shit outside of like the Grand Line and more accurately like basically like the middle of the Red Line in Mary Joa,
super close to
like to the New World, you know, like so the East Blue might start like once you start getting into the East Blue, the North Blue, the West Blue, all that, the edges of it, that might start being where some of that stuff gets a little bit like dicey. Which actually makes me kind of wonder, as I'm saying this, if anybody on the moon knows about what's going on with any of this, because that's the furthest you can go in the One Piece world while still being relevant.
And what if they, escaped there because they knew Eam couldn't get to them?
Yeah, like they were like, yeah, Eam's old as shit. Eam's on that 3G. Like, when the 5G update comes, you might be in trouble. But like right now we're on the moon. So like, we're out of the cell range,
And like, what if people went to the sky because of that,
But yeah, I mean, you got to keep in mind that means that obviously, one, as we noted, and we gave him props, Blackbeard gave him that scar.
Yeah, Blackbeard, it makes Blackbeard that much stronger, in my opinion. It's like, whoa, bro.
But it also means that Shanks managed to steal the Gomu Gomu no Mi while having that mark by definition. So it makes you wonder, like, if Emu did obviously Emu can't have full control over Shanks, because I don't think that should have ever been allowed to happen.
And that's why I don't think it was like the Abyss powers. I think it was a tracker. That's why I 100% believe what you're saying. And I think it was like oh shit, he got this. And it was like, oh, to protect Luffy, we got to get this shit off me. You know what I'm saying? It was like, I'm letting down all my hockey, all my defenses, and I'm placing a bet on the future. Take the arm.
Yeah, and it might almost be like, I won't say that obviously it came like from JJK, but it might almost be like a Gojo or My Hero situation where like the way to like fold it or trick it or whatever is through like being affected by either focusing or being the focus of something else. Like if the Sea King had deadly intent towards Luffy, and then Shanks happened to step in front of the Sea King and Luffy,
it got
kind of like in a Boruto type way, where a lot of people are thinking that Daemon is only going to get hurt by you trying to hurt something that happens to either be behind Daemon or having no killer intent in your heart. Because of his bullshit that he has going on. So I could definitely see it being that kind of way. And like your mental state might also be important. And maybe we'll get into this, but like, I don't think that the end all be all is just an absurd amount of Conqueror's hockey, because at that point, so few people are going to become relevant when fighting some of these fights, because I love the crew and I'm not even a guy who would hate it if they all got a little bit of Conqueror's hockey shine, but it wouldn't make a lot of sense with everything that we have now.
I feel like some of the crew's going to have to fight Marines. I feel like some of the crew's going to be fighting other people. But to that point, let's wait off on the Conquerors. I'm with you. Do you want to talk? Do you want to talk Holy Knights now? Because those are some things that happened as well. I really like the Kieran's look when he's not in his. Yeah, killing him's look outside of his devil fruit is badass.
He reminds me a lot of
Fishman version.
I was thinking that too, because he's got the teeth. He reminds me also a lot of like Caesar, how Caesar kind of like has some of the only straight jet black hair in the show, and how he's got his little weird goat horns, so he is a very particular way. I don't know if he's allowed to be a fisherman.
Let me ask. Let me pitch it to you. Is he like one of those, we know, being in America, there are specific black people that are called coons, who basically do things against their race, against their culture, against everything that they believe in. We know Clarence Thomas exists. Is Killingham One Piece's Clarence Thomas?
My only question is, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that, but two, not just about it. No, but I'm not sure. But here's the thing though. Clarence Thomas is allowed to go everywhere, and like he hangs out with like rich people or whatever, although a lot of people do hate him. Is Killingham allowed to walk around Mary Joa? Because it is also weird that he's introduced in his half zone form. And we were speculating,
and he has the bubble on him.
Yeah, why he feels that way. Is it possible that if he is some sort of either mixed race or mixed with something, that they were like, hey, look, or maybe he came to the decision himself. He was like, I don't want to poison my brother's eyes.
I think that's what it is, Versen.
But they have to respect my devil fruit because this shit bangs.
We also know, being in America, Thomas Jefferson had a bunch of kids with his slaves. What if the Celestial Dragons had sex with a fish woman, and that's Killingham? And to your point, he stays in his devil fruit form because he doesn't want to. He's ashamed of his fishman roots.
Yeah, you know, like,
when I saw him, that's the first thing I thought of, Versen.
Yeah, I guess I'm willing to like see, but like I don't know, like I don't exactly know when it's going to come up, but I'm very interested in it. Yeah, like, and I will say it is fun because as you mentioned that, like, funny enough, the very first thing Scopper Gabon in this very arc says is like, dog, they got some like mixed race people you never even heard about, and he's like, that shit's fucking awesome.
And you know,
I got my half giant son. They got half
speaking
fishman.
of him saying that's awesome, Killingham could be the direct representation of the opposite of hating that. And to your point, usually when Oda brings something up early in the chapter, it always comes back.
Can you imagine him hitting somebody with like their nightmare or whatever, but it's his idea of their nightmare, and he's like, the nightmare of mixed race children.
Yo,
you know, we got white people saying rap lyrics. You know, we got the Wasians, and then everybody else is like, "That's." I'm not scared of that.
No, not at all.
That's pretty adorable over
here. But I can totally see him being the person who represents self-hatred.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, like he is, like, you know, he taps into dreams and nightmares, which I do want to say, I think he could act. I don't think he can just conjure bad. I think he could conjure dreams too.
I think he could.
But he's just such a dick. Like, and by the way, once again, not to pat myself in the back, but you know, we have a Nightmare Devil Fruit. I introduced my One Piece D&D game you guys are in with the Nightmare Devil Fruit, except I'll get, you know, not to get too into it because I want to go back to that at some point, but mine was very much like a Kaido situation where mine is supposed to be almost like someone who believes they are a joy boy who has failed. Killing him or whatever might have some backstory where he maybe first he was using the dreams and it was awesome, beautiful or whatever, or maybe the part of the reason why they let him even be on Marijoa is because he uses his fruit at night to give pleasant dreams to the to the celestial dragons. But whenever he does go onto the surface world, he's like, nightmare, 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 nightmare.
Yes. Yeah, I could see that. All right, let's do Summers, and then we could get to Gabon and then get to the chapter. Or if there's anything else you want to talk outside of that as well, we could do that too. Summers, I really like his powers, the thorn stuff, badass. It definitely, I would love for Robin to fight him, but the fact that Conqueror's Haki has to be involved, I feel like it might be a Sanji situation to help Robin, how Robin helped him with Black Maria, but Summers is basically the opposite of Gabon and fucking Sanji. Like the way he believes that love, his view of love.
Yeah, but at the same time, and not to be whatever, I mean, Zora's faced non-swordsman, but
you want Zora to fight him?
No, I mean, I'm not really tripping over who fights him either way, but also he is the only one that has a sword on his like belt, because like Gunko's doing her bizarre bullshit, which we know Sanji can't fight her.
No,
even as a devil can't fight her. But then Killingham has like this weird trident, which also might kind of play into it. Him being a fisherman is busted ass trident. So yeah, I don't know. But then again, I mean, Zoro not but 2-3 days ago in story fought another centaur. So,
also, I think Zoro and Sanji, which we could now use this to get into the Conqueror's Gabon conversation, I feel like they're going to fight Dory and Broggy, being that they are the representation of them, and they're going up first.
I agree. They're going up first. Also, someone has to handle these two.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, like
before the fucking whatchamacallit, the Holy Knights can be taken care of by Loki, Luffy, and a healed up Gabon. So somebody has to take care of Dory and Broggy, because outside of the three Holy Knights, those are the most important things at this present time.
I feel like also you can maybe get Usopp a little bit into it because he considers him their masters, like it might be possible that maybe he'll do a lot of like the crowd control or whatever and like hold them in place, and then Sanji and like Zoro might have to deal the damage. But like, I don't know, man.
How do you feel about Usopp right now, man? Because we expected this to be like his arc, and it's looking, I'm not gonna say it's looking bleak for him, but it's not looking how we imagined at first.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, Elbath is going much quicker than I ever thought it was. Like straight up. Because I thought we were going to have a lot more setup. I thought we were going to go into like a little bit more of the Nika tale. I mean, dude, if you want to talk about someone's arc, I'm kind of sitting here, and I think a lot of people were, not because we're a fan of the man, but Where's Eustace's kid?
Yes,
Where is
bro.
he? He might just actually be dead.
Is he dead?
Not to like use him as not to use Usopp as a launch point, but like at least Usopp's alive and doing some stuff. Like
True.
he's at least moving around.
People,
what the fuck is kid doing?
I still see theories that people are like, "Oh yeah, kids in the underwater city." Like, oh my gosh,
He's in Atlantis.
Y'all are wishing on a prayer, brother.
Dude, it'd be so funny though if like Kid was taken over, and then everybody's like, but Conquerors prevents that, and it's like, yes, because he had Timu commoners talking.
Sanji got better Conquerors than fucking Kid, and Sanji don't even have it. Well, we don't know. And speaking of that, let's get to the Gyaban. Bro, I love Gyaban, bro. I love him. Scopper, bro. Scopper is what I imagine Sanji becoming as an older man. Gabon's so cool. The way he did that axe technique and cut Summer's ass down. Bro, I know we know Rayleigh is that dude, but like, is it crazy for me to say I might like Scopper more than Rayleigh?
I like Rayleigh too, but like, and I have a genuine respect for the man. Like, I don't want anyone to interpret it as
that's what I'm saying. I don't want people to think I hate Rayleigh because I don't.
But like, I think definitionally, Rayleigh has said he can't do what Scopper's doing right now. He has not been. He hasn't been eating his Wheaties. He hasn't been keeping up with it. You know.
All right, and that's interesting. Do you think that's because of Scopper, at least because of the time dilation? We see in the flashback with Shanks, one of the important things that him and Shanks talk that is said is Shanks goes, Gabon goes, I feel like it's been 3 years since we've done this. And Shanks was like, bro, it's been 10 since Roger died. You remember the Louis Arnault quote that says, get out of Elbaf as soon as possible? Is it possible that time moves differently? And then when we get out of Elbaf, the world's going to be moved forward?
I think it'd be cool, but like also at the same time though, I will say if that happens, I would also explain why Elbaf has to move so quick, because Oda's like, we got to compound this whole thing, and like, granted, we don't ever stay on islands super long.
It might be like a month when we get out, when it's only been supposed to be some days.
Yeah, and you know, like I will say, we generally don't stick on islands too long. Although I say that Egghead had a little time skip in it that made it like last at least a week. We were we just didn't see it.
It was like a week and a half.
Yeah, like we can't do that
on Elbaf.
You know, but I am worried that shit that is on a tight time schedule outside is going to get like missed or like sped ahead. Like I don't know, that's probably also a big reason why Oda is giving us the cover stories that we've been getting with Yamato, which I do like. But Wano is already a very isolated island, so they're not going to really know much about the outside world. So we can make Yamato's trip across Wano last however long we want. Whereas if we were following even just Neomads or whatever, like we would know
what's
how
going
far
on.
Along.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think he's trying to hide that. Also, it makes sense why Emu was like, y'all are taking too long on Elbaf. Get the fuck out and let's get this done with.
Yeah, when for us it's been like a couple hours, dog.
Yeah, facts. But it might have been, some days. I'm very interested in how the time works. Another thing that Shanks said, oh, you got something else? Go ahead.
Well,
jump in.
I was also going to say, like, that also might be part of the reason why they're a little bit like shaken or a little bit weird about the Herald thing. They're like, wait, how long Harold been dead? Because, because some of the ways, and granted, this might partially just because giants live a super fucking long time if they aren't killed in combat.
Why is there, if they live so long, maybe their island, is adjusted to their timeline.
I think there might very well be like almost a sort of like partially time gravity manipulation thing where like, because they are bigger and their wills are bigger or whatever, I don't exactly know how you want to say it, but like, the giants needed a giant home. Well,
their feet are bigger too.
Well, like, their heels. We talking heels or we talking wills? But like, they're weird. Whatever fucking magic they have, because we also haven't gone into the fact that like they have technology, but it's barely tech. It's more magic than anything. Like, what's going on? Also, I don't know. Like, if it is a distorted world, and okay, let's think about this very carefully. So the idea is that there is a distortion and that when you're on Elbaf physically, it does not feel like it has been as long for everyone else. And also they live super long, so that already makes it kind of weird for them anyway. So I guess I'm wondering how that relates to the murals of like, because even the murals themselves are treated as ancient by the giants.
Yep.
So that must mean that
those things are old as fuck.
Yeah, for literally everyone else. What does that even mean? And it is interesting because Skypiea doesn't really feel like it has the same thing. Like they have like those who know about the surface world don't really care about the calendar, but we never really get that distortion. It's super hyper isolated because there's literally 2 ways in the entire world to get to it.
And just to add to that, think about Little Garden, the place Dory and Broggy were. That island also had a little bit of a time shit where the log post, you had to be there for a year or something. Whatever. You remember that weird shit that was happening
yeah.
there?
It took extra long, and also the fact that things did grow bigger. That's why we had the hunt that made them like pissed off. So it's very possible that like maybe whatever happened at Elbath happened to a couple other islands here.
Yep.
Because there are also other, as we see in the most recent chapter, there are other islands with giants on it, but they aren't huge, seemingly, you know, or at least they don't act the same way that Elbathan giants do. Because, you know, as she says, she's like, we get lumped in with these savages up there or whatever, even though we're mostly trying to chill. You know, and I wonder if part of the reason why it is that way and why Wano, is somewhat conservative is because it's locked in. And because we're on a time skip right now, I wonder if King Harold will talk about that in any type of way, because he does leave Elbath a lot. He
does. Yep.
He tries to go everywhere, unlike the Wano samurai who they left for one trip and then had to stay because Kaido was there. He's making envoys, and because
multiple trips.
Yeah, and because he's, you know, the Prince of the Giants or whatever, he's like, who the fuck's gonna stop me?
Yep. Exactly.
Especially whenever I'm being peaceful, you know?
Exactly.
Like they were holding it down even before the world government was like really too much of an issue, you know? Like they say it right when we're in the time skip, which is also partially what Gold Roger said whenever he found the One Piece or whatever it ends up being. He's like, I wish I was born in that interesting time that you were in, and that is the time of fucking
the giant pirates.
Yeah. Older.
And they said it in either the chapter we're about to review or the chapter before. This was the time where the biggest evil on the seas were the new giant pirates. Like, yeah.
Like, and they make it a point, like human pirates, like way back then, weren't even really that much of an issue.
Yeah, they were
It was pretty much all being taken up by the giants, you know? Yep. Like the people who first mapped the world, granted, people give it to Roger, and I think that is reasonable, the first human. I would not be surprised if the giants were the first people who actually did it. And that's why a lot of the terminology we use or whatever is
our
kind
giant
of
terminology.
Vaguely, aligned with the giants, you know, until the world government came in and was like, no, we're humanizing and we're
homogenized everything. Yeah.
All this fucking shit, you know?
I agree with you 100%. Final thing I wanted to mention before we get to the chapter. I guess not the final thing. I'll use this as the bridge into it. You think Sanji getting conquerors? I think so.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't.
Yep.
This is fine.
And Oda tried to do it as a gag, but no, Sanji's getting it. He's the wing of the Pirate King. And Jazz gave an incredible reason. Shout out to our guy Jazz. I want to pull it up. It was so good that even Christian had to agree. And Christian is not a Sanji conquerors guy, but this made him be like, okay, Jazz, I got to give you this. Jazz said this. Let me pull it up. He said, so Christian asked, how do you think Sanji, you know, what is the reasoning behind you thinking Sanji should have Conqueror's Haki? And he said all he's ever heard is he's a prince. Gabon has it. The cooking book, I don't know what that means. Volume 100.
Cock King.
Oh, okay. And then the wings must be equal. So Jazz says, I think he should, and it goes back to his backstory with Zeph, how he survived days on end without food and how that requires tremendous willpower. Also, the fact that he conquered his germicide fully might be a way as well. And Christian responded to that by saying, you are right. His willpower to handle starvation outclasses both Luffy and Zoro, and conquering himself is what conquerors do. So the fact that he could conquer, you know, his past and conquer himself, Versen, that tells me he could get it, bro. I will say this. He may get a different style than Luffy and Zoro. He may get, you know, I feel like there's going to be multiple styles of conquerors, and I think Sanji will have one specific to him.
Yeah, like, and not just that, but like his passion has literally seemingly overcome his genetics and his own views on reality. He is able to erase, and that's why he can even do Del Dramble. It's I don't want to equate to Luffy, but it's very similar. I mean, it's the same enough
It's like
reason
Zoro
for
making
me.
Ashura, bro.
Yeah, like that is just a thing these freaks can do.
Yep.
And anytime anyone lives long enough to see it, they're like, that makes no fucking sense what you're telling me right now. But they don't care.
And we're gonna find out that is conquerors, bro. We're gonna find out that these dudes can do conquerors. I am 100% on board with having the monster trio do this. And I love that Galban said, yo, y'all are the right hands to this Yonko. What the fuck are y'all doing? Get serious. And I think Zoro needed that, and I think Sanji needed that. So that tells me this arc, Luffy already had his power up. I think this arc is to get Sanji and Zoro to the Rayleigh and Galban level.
And I think that will also simmer down to the rest of the crew as well, because they're also seeing their own, but they're also seeing their own limitations. Like you said, I wouldn't mind Robin fighting, but we've already had like 3 instances of people saying, Robin, you can't handle this. Like, it's going to hurt you too much. I think she's going to break through.
Overcome that shit.
I don't know if it conquers or if she's finally going to like do better armament on top of her fisherman karate, where she's like, oh, I'm not going to touch you. I'm just going to use my fisherman karate to push you off this fucking like island or something, you know?
I can see that. I can see Usopp getting full control of his observation finally. It's like, I think that would be important. So Brooke
still holding out for him to get it. Still holding out for him to get like a Mjolnir thing.
Yeah.
We're dealing with souls and the souls of the dead or whatever, which is very heavy in Norse mythology. So Brooke has like kind of like an angle. We've already seen weather patterns are weird as fuck on Elbath, and like their storms are stronger than any other storm in the world.
And Frankie's chilling with Lilith. Like, make some new shit.
You know, grabbing some more Atomwood stuff, maybe for Frankie. But yeah, like, well, first of all, let me just say, I've never really worried about Sanji getting Conqueror's Haki, because I mean, some people can be like, oh, you know what, just because both the wings of the Pirate King have to be like equal-ish or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, kind of a little bit.
They definitely need to.
I mean, they're the wings of the Pirate King. If Zoro's getting it, yeah, I think Sanji will get it too. And as I said before, I don't even think it's going to stop at just being them. People play it off as a joke. I could see in the story Nami having just a sprinkle or whatever. But also, yeah, like some of the things that people dislike about Sanji are also the things that make him like actually kind of primed to be a conqueror, great and a conqueror. Like, his steadfast appeal to not hit any women is
that's Will, bro.
As Zoro's.
Yes.
Like, you know, he like people like meme on him saying, just throw away your ambitions, as if there wasn't a whole fucking like thing going on around that of how Sanji is self-sacrificing, and he will put himself last every time for like literally anyone else. You know, so I think a big part of him either awakening conquerors or whatever it ends up being is going to be him finally valuing himself and not putting himself over others, but putting himself right at that level, which is something we've been moving up literally since Whole Cake. And now that he's finally put the baggage of his family behind him, I think he'll be able to fully. Yeah, you know, he'll be able to be like, I am one of the wings of the Pirate King. I am the most passionate, strongest fucking normal human or whatever alive, whatever, you know, phrasing you want to use for him that isn't swordsman or whatever. And I'm a stand on business.
I'm the greatest science warrior on the planet. You know, I'm the greatest cyborg on the planet, whatever you want to call him.
I maintain that I would like him to end up being called like the Knight of Passion or something.
Okay.
Also, because I think Gabon also kind of is that with like, did he call himself like literally the Professor of Love?
He is the emissary of love.
Yeah, he's Mr. Horny himself, Mr. Free Love, Mr. Let's mix it up.
I love that, bro. I'm telling you, I love Gabon so much. Okay, his nickname we have. Wait, let's see. I went to the One Piece thing. So his aliases are Mr. Prince, Sangoro, Obamass, Sobamass. Why aren't we seeing the Vinsmoke thing that they called himself? Because I'm thinking of the chapter where does Luffy want a warrior of what did he say? A warrior of science, or like when Sanji was talking about his eyebrow changing and him succumbing to the Vinsmoke powers, he used a specific phrase that that ties into what you're saying.
Yeah, I think it was like something like, I can't remember exactly. Maybe it was like
either I can't remember. Yeah,
Vensos monster or like Judge's like experiment.
Yeah,
something like that.
Something like that. Yeah,
like some kind of monstrosity, which also I think would parallel with Chopper, because whenever Chopper first comes after the time skip, and he doesn't have grief about Monster Point, he's like, "Yeah, I'll be a monster for Luffy because y'all accept me anyway." And accepting that he could be a monster, it was what allowed him to control Monster Point.
Also,
You
the
know,
fact that all of these, that our big three represent different types of devils. I need Sanji to get the Blackfoot. Like, let's get a Matu. Like, when you get your conquerors, instead of it being blue, it finally turns black.
yeah, you know, and that'll be a great parallel and kind of spitting in the face of Emu and the gods and whatever. Where it's like, we know that they're here to save everyone and then they're very liberatory or whatever, but like they don't care about how they look. They will look as monsters about as they want, like Robin reclaiming Devil Child. And she's like, whenever I see my friends, it brings out the devil in me, and she becomes like this massive fucking awesome thing.
Zoro
like,
with Ashura, Chopper with Monster Point, Nami having Zeus, this
being
Big
a
Mom
witch.
S queen, Brooke being a dead, like the leader of the undead, and Frankie is the cyborg, and you have the fisherman Jinbei. Now, question, I thought the Shanks thing would be the last thing, but I gotta ask because it was something that happened, and I don't want the people to say we didn't cover everything. Is Loki joining the crew?
I think so. I'm fine with
I
it.
agree.
I mean,
bigger boat or like what you think?
Well, let me say this. The only thing I'll say this, I don't know for sure if Loki is joining the crew, but I will say this. Anyone who says that Loki's size is the reason Loki cannot join the crew is not reading the same fucking story. We've been reading that has never ever been an issue for Luffy to find a way to make something happen when he wants it to fucking happen.
New boat.
Even if they have to tug him in the back, I think Loki's devil fruit that he has might help him shape change.
Ooh, you're right. You've always said you've maintained that. Yep.
Yeah, I think he'll just be able to like kind of compact himself,
like still be real like life Loki. Strength.
Yeah, you know, like he'll just be able to like, because I mean, we just saw Loki's fucking horse form.
Yeah,
literally, like his horse son in mythology in this very chapter, that freaky 8-legged horse or whatever.
Yep.
Like, you know,
so, that shit was fire. But okay, yeah, no, I'm with you.
Loki already might have some stuff going on with him because of his weird eyes.
So, which we will definitely get to. I totally believe, and this is the last thing I'll say about this, more so, and you know, me and you were both team Yamato joining the crew. They had people that were like Carrot, that, you know, people had all their things, but I feel like this is the closest we have been outside of Jinbei of somebody joining.
Yeah, I think they're all going to kind of be on the crew, like Grand Fleet or whatever. I don't know if Loki is destined to be on the Sunny or if he's going to be sharing Grand Fleet captain with Harudine or whatever, as like the new giant pirates together, because there's two captains or what. But I don't mind him being compressed and put on there, especially if it ends up Vivi not being on there. Well, if I'm being honest, if I'm
also look at the mural, bro. That is Loki. Like, I'm convinced.
Yeah. Besides, I mean, if we're gonna Loki have like one of every type of person,
we need a giant,
more or less. Yeah, we need like the Oni giant specifically or whatever, which Harudine does not count as. Here's Big Bad Loki, who Luffy has been saying he's good inside from the start. And I can
whoop his ass if he goes bad. And Harudine in the last chapter legit was like, you feel in your gut, huh, Straw Hat? So that tells me deep down Harudine thinks he's a good guy as well. The fact that he said that.
Oh, by the way, I'm gonna bring this to like raise up stocks, and this, because it's gonna be the last thing we say about the past chapters. Besides one, just want it on record, Gonko, very hot. But two, we also did have that minute with Shanks or whatever, where he's talking with Gabon, and he said, I kind of almost regret some what I did. I know that I'm in Marijoa for my own reasons. I personally think on some level Shanks was just generally curious and he wanted to go there to see what it was like.
I agree.
On both sides of the story, but I do think he's at that point, he's like, oh, this is fucking disgusting. And then he bounced.
He dipped, yeah. Bro, you know, he was raised by Roger. Like, there's no way Shanks was staying and putting up with that shit. Like, our guy is a good dude. He was raised by Roger, Jabon, and Rayleigh. Like, he said all he wanted was to do is to chill with Buggy, but there was something more. He couldn't let the world stay like it is under Emu, which is why I think he wanted to talk to Harold, but it just so happened that it was too late.
Yeah, and like the reason I bring it up is because he says in that, like you said, his dream was to sail the world and be free with Buggy. He never really wanted to be a Yonko, which I'm not saying he doesn't embrace it, but like he was like, I just wanted to be the freest man in the world, like Luffy. I just wanted to chill.
But he can't.
And yet, but people see that and they see that mindset, and then they go to other characters and be like, oh, well, Sanji doesn't have like a dream of like conquering or whatever, anything. So, you know, clearly he can. It's like the one with the best conquer sake in the world right now said he just wants to smoke weed and hang out with all of his homies. And his entire extended fleet is just people he wants to protect.
Facts.
Like, that is just the way that is or whatever. And like, I don't know. I don't necessarily know why people can't exactly square that circle or whatever. I think the main problem is
my goat that much more, bro. My goat is amazing, bro. My goat had the opportunity to sell out, join the Illuminati. He said, Fuck all that, bro. I'm betting on this little stretchy rubber boy.
Yeah, like I think the ultimate problem with Conqueror's hockey, and it's part of the problem that I have with it, is that shit shouldn't be called Conqueror's hockey. That shit is Dreamer's hockey, or whatever, because people act like it has to be implicitly violent, even though our main character Luffy has never wanted to conquer a goddamn thing.
I agree with you. It shouldn't be called Conquerors. I think it's a Japanese translation thing.
Yeah, I agree. Like, and I think it ultimately comes out in the wash, but I think that, at least for the American mindset in the West, has very much tainted it as sort of like,
kingly,
warlike, and also like forcing people to like bow to your ideals around you. Whenever I think more and more it's kind of showing to be like not giving a fuck what others think and standing up for what you believe until you die, which is why you can have someone like Garp still have it while still being in the Marines and whatever, you know.
Facts.
At the very least, it's much more complicated than people have like made it out to be. And as long as we keep it in this very confined box or whatever, I will personally think it isn't good to have in the story, and people will like endlessly argue about it, which will probably continue until like One Piece is over. But it is what it is.
It definitely will.
And but after, probably.
But you nailed it on the head. The Shanks thing was what I wanted to transition into the chapter. So let's get into it. Versen, what's the first thing you want to talk about?
Well, obviously we take up most of the backstory with Harold. So yeah, I mean, what do you think? What do you think of the old him versus the new him?
Hey man, that Hirudean's mom changed it.
Yeah. She was the one woman in history who changed a bad man like that.
Yep, bro. I definitely think his look is badass too. He looks like Kaido though.
Yeah, he definitely does look a lot like Kaido. I will say on page 3 of the chapter, we actually get something insane. We get him going from being like kind of evil and a dick. Granted, his face does change throughout the thing, but after she slaps him, he gets such a adorable, almost cartoony like face. And I was almost like, damn, like, again, we're just saying that like different people can like kind of almost affect things, almost like a Nika Nika's type thing. Like she changed his whole disposition with that slap.
Yep. You know, yeah, she really did. And I think it's interesting that he saw this giant trapped, you know, in this thing, and he was ready, bro. He was ready to throw hands. So that goes back to the point of you saying, damn, the giants were the strongest people on the seas. I wonder, you know, what happened during that time? Because something bad happened to where he saw her and he was ready to burn the whole shit down.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's very cool. You can also note how obviously they put those. Granted, I mean, she consented to it, but they put the fake horns on her head.
Yeah, they did.
Or whatever. So, like, it also goes to show that there's just something about horned giants that even if people don't completely know why the giants have horns whenever they're not, like, close to the giants or whatever, they do know that whenever a giant has horns, they are specifically something to worry about.
Yep.
Even more so than a normal ass giant.
Yep. The Oni blood, bro. The Oni blood matters in that shit. And I'm so interested in that if Oda explains more of that. I do like that her name is Ida. I do like that she is the reason why he, you know, softened his edges. Like she explained to him about peace. She explained to him about doing things the right way. Let me ask you, is she a Mother Caramel type or is she just a good person?
No, that is a good woman right there.
Gotcha. I just had to ask.
I get why you would maybe think that, but also like, there's no way she knew fucking Harold was going to wander past and then break her up or whatever.
No, true.
And then put himself in that position, especially because if she was a Mother Caramel type, I mean, she'd have
been the queen. Yeah.
She would be an Elbath making changes. She instead was like, you know what? I don't love it.
I'll just take my son and make sure he's okay.
Yeah. You come to visit and you know what? It's fine.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. Now, my thing is that interests me because Loki called him a government dog. I'm very interested to see when that picks up. And he, in the chapter, while he's letting Loki just drain and shit, he says Harold starts to struggle against the walls of diplomacy, blocked by the world government again. Why can't countries just be free? I'm starting to think, Versen, he might have been fighting against the world government system.
See, I think he's starting to get like that mindset or whatever, like, because he's out of like the pillager conqueror's mindset and he's starting to think of like different things, in part because he loves his wife, but also as he goes there and he shows that like he's not there to conquer whatever, the people do give them like skills and
Love.
like stuff about it that they don't know about. And he's starting to realize like the giant race at some point we started stagnating. We're so used to being on top or whatever that we've, you know, accepted it. And then I think if he really looks at it, he starts to realize, as you say, he's bumping up against it. He's like, oh, it's not just that like the giants were feared or whatever. There's another entity that we haven't concerned ourselves with pretty much at all. And we've let them take over land because
The
we were so
world.
comfortable. Yeah, because we were so comfortable that we could just go and pillage or whatever. We didn't realize that there is an opposite force that is just as powerful, if not stronger, that lets us do that.
That's
And
not even worried about us.
yeah, and now that we're acting out of character, like
Now they care.
yeah, because they're like, hold on now, the giants are a very convenient thing for the government, almost like a terrorist cell where they're like, listen, we need to be on top because we're the only ones who can check giants.
And look, and it's more so like also this, if they're warrior bound, they'll destroy themselves, and we'll keep them destroying themselves in a sense of, look, bringing it back to America, how they, you know, they put crack in the hood, and it was like, let's let the black people destroy themselves. And like, I feel like that's a reason why, you know, Emu wants them to continue being warrior bound instead of peaceful, trying to obtain knowledge, because if they're warrior bound, they're going to consistently fight themselves and believe in that old doctrine instead of trying to figure out the truth.
And also that you can definitely look at it from like a historical perspective where it's like, this is also people who have been allowed to like live and not have to interact with the rest of the world, but they also don't have to interact with the rest of the world's economy. They don't have to do anything or whatever. It's just like, we show up, we take your shit, we leave. Like the giants having to figure out a way to barter like the atom wood that we know that the world government wants. And
it would make
want
them
to keep
such a big financial hub that the world government does not want to happen.
Yeah. And like the giants could, not through like pillaging or taking over, but they could start to consensually talk to people and be like, look, for the furthest islands who maybe aren't under like the world government tribute, who are treated like left to die, the giants could be like, hey, look, you trade with us, you help like feed our people, or you like trade as textiles or whatever, we will protect you from pirates or whatever, or like if a sea king runs rampant, we'll fight it, you know. Like the giants are primed to start becoming a second pole to this one polar world, much like the revolutionaries are.
And it hurts the Marines. It hurts the world government, because it's like, why do we need y'all when the giants will take care of us?
Yeah, and if the revolutionaries were starting to finally get a foothold, that, you know, it's still a while for them to come. But like if the revs and the giants could fucking like link up or whatever, that completely topples things, because then you have humans who can like help like preach or whatever and like get the giant phobia out of it. And then you have giants who are like super under willpower, but they're no longer fighting for their own sake. They're fighting for a cause and for like the liberation of everyone or whatever. That is something, you know, that one meme where it's like what the establishment truly fears, and it's like one dude in a Confederate and then a black man or whatever. It's kind of like that.
It really is, man. It really is.
Which
it
is
seems
why
like they wanted to keep the giants dumb.
Yeah, which is why which is obviously why they're not going to allow it to happen. And while I know I was talking that Harold was like possibly like a CIA or whatever,
yeah.
I think Harold is going to have almost sort of like a Wano situation, where he's going to be put in a situation where it's like, I have to act a certain way for the good of my country, and unfortunately it will also benefit the world government. I hate to say it, I think him becoming a government stooge might also in part be for Loki.
And to protect him.
He's only going to realize it because they're probably going to be like, hey, man, we heard there's a prophecy about your son ending the world. Tell me why we can't send some fucking snipers and handle it.
Or why we can't make him a holy knight.
Yeah, that might be like literally the deal that's on the table, which is the giants are going to have to become isolationist, or you're going to have to give us one or even both of your sons.
Yep. And he probably turned that down. And honestly, they probably Domi reversied him, which is why all the guards stabbed him. And I feel like this is going to be like a pull, because Loki to me is basically half Zoro, half Sanji. And I feel like this backstory is going to be very similar to Judge, when Judge and Sanji fought. And Sanji was not committed to killing the meat shields. He was not committed to killing the people that Judge used, the clones in front of him. Whereas I think the Domi Reversi stuff, Loki's gonna have to kill those guards, and I feel like Loki didn't do that to Harold. The Domi Versi, to Yarul, the Domi Versi, Harold stabbed Yarul, and that's why Yarul's not as against Loki as the others, because deep down, even though he doesn't remember, he knows Loki did some good that day.
Yeah, and I also think even if it might be a deep down thing, but I also think it might be like, I think Harold, Jarul might have, for forgot or whatever, and then they imprisoned Loki or whatever. But he was like, you know what? He's still young though, and like it's kind of fucked up. Maybe I can counsel him
Mosa? You
and
think it's
work on
Mosa?
it. Yeah. And then just
Mm.
like doing it for years until the point where they eventually became a friend. Because I mean, obviously, Auril is Shaggy, and that means that if Loki gets up there and he sees Dorian Broggy fucking execute basically his only father figure,
He's gonna go crazy.
who was already Loki kind of a Zazu like uncle type for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's going to wild the fuck out, and we might actually see him deliver on his threat of
Destroying Elbath.
yeah, no, either destroying Elbath or like his deal with Luffy, which is being like, hey, I told you if you free me, name one island or entity or whatever, and it is fucking gone. Like I could easily see him cashing that check, not necessarily on Dorian Broggy or whatever, but like
on Emu.
I don't know, just like dropping whatever nuclear shit he has.
Yeah, because he felt the Conquerors, and when Gabon told him, "Hey, those guys aren't immortal. Channel your Conquerors." Both him and both Loki and Luffy knew exactly what Gabon was talking about, whereas Zoro and Sanji were like, huh? But those two knew, and I think those two are going to be so important to this battle. I'm so excited to see, but I'm also excited to see what do Loki's eyes mean, because he clearly has these dragon snake-like Lord Sauron from Lord of the Rings type eyes.
Yeah, like, not to get too much into it, but like he's clearly different, almost in like a Voldemort type way, where like he's a cursed child who was like, blah
his
blah.
Mom
Voldemort.
sucked. The first bad One Piece mom, Ida. I mean, not Ida. What's her name? Hilda, Frida, something. Let's see. Harold meet your future. Estrid. Yeah, Estrid. And they forced him to marry her. Estrid's a beautiful woman, but she is messed up throwing Loki in the underworld.
Give her all the hate people give to Boa Hancock. Because people act like that this is how Boa Hancock acts, and we fucking know that isn't the case.
Not at all. People really hate on Boa?
Dude, I saw some of that weird Boa misogyny like literally yesterday on the timeline. People don't read, man. They don't.
That's horrible. Read. Like, Boa's such a great person. Like, when you see her backstory with the slavery stuff, I want to cry. Like, she's such a good person. But this lady, you see it in the face. Oda only draws women like this when they're truly evil scum. Estrid sucks, bro. Estrid gave up her kid and threw his ass because he looked a little different, kind of like Katakuri. It gave a little Katakuri vibes, looked a little different, and started treating him bad.
And it's very like Hera and like Hephaestus,
which I know good call.
Yeah, I know others brought it up, but I was like, whenever Hera literally throws him off the thing or whatever, it makes me wonder, like, we've been speculating about his eyes and they are covered. I wonder if it's possible Loki plucked out his own eyes so that way his mom would love him.
Ooh,
and she still fucking didn't.
Kind of how Katakuri wears that thing to cover his mouth.
Yeah, and how Fujitora blinded himself because he got tired of seeing the evil of people.
I could believe what you're saying, but I feel like his eyes matter. Like, I feel like there's a reason why his eyes look like that. So maybe there's some power from that, but like, I wouldn't be mad if he took his eyes out and his observation is super strong. That's how he sees. But I just feel like you don't introduce those eyes and they don't have a purpose of some sort.
I could also see it being a case where it's like, I tried and it didn't fucking work.
So he took them out type shit.
No. Like, I mean, like, he couldn't take them out, but like maybe a bunch of scars.
Gotcha.
The story of Loki ends whenever his rebellion ends or whatever. He is put into a position where he is held down, and the venom of a snake is like acidic, and it goes into his eyes and it blinds him. But then he has his wife there next to him, constantly filling up a bowl and tossing it out, but so to alleviate his pain. But it only like splashes onto his face whenever she has to move the bowl because it's starting to overfill. So he isn't in constant pain or whatever, but every time he is or whatever, he gets like a flare of pain and he gets mad. Obviously, I don't think it's the same type of connection, but I think his familial unit or whatever, like his wife equivalent, is probably Shaggy on the transponder snail. to like help try and alleviate some of that pain that he has from being like bound like he is.
Also, for those who know about Viking lore, because I definitely think, to your point, he's pulling from, since Odin was very much so like Thor, he's pulling from not from Norse mythology for essentially some of the god shit. I think the god shit he's doing what you said from Greek mythology, but he is tying in Viking culture nonetheless, because I believe Harold represents Ragnar Lothbrok, who, if you watch the Vikings show, was a very important person in Vikings mythology. He's also the one that allowed the Protestants or the Catholic, whatever the religious that wasn't Vikings, to come in and infiltrate the Vikings. But he had a son called Sigurd Snake in the Eye, who was born differently, who had snake eyes and became very important with helping the Vikings get the Protestants or Catholics, whichever one that Ragnar let in, out of their society. So,
yeah, and then also we know that a lot of the giant culture is also exploration or whatever, you know, like second probably only to like Nolan the Liar whenever it comes to like what we consider like adventurers, which is a third like narrow string, which is very cool, but unfortunately never seems to last. Like it feels like every adventurer you either get fucking put down in the dirt or you have to turn into a pirate.
Like what's up with Louis Arnault, bro? Like you mentioned him in chapter 1, the first chapter of Elbaf. We still haven't gotten back to that shit.
Yeah, I'm also low-key wondering, I'm wondering where this fucking horse is from, because that is mythologically an important horse. Sounds like also it was just born that way and is not like eating a devil fruit. So
yeah, it looks like that just might be his beast.
Yeah, like Loki probably should ride that at some point, depending.
Ooh, that would be badass. That would be badass. Anything else from this chapter? If not, we could do our predictions for next.
I was also gonna say, it would also make sense because he has such an affinity with animals, like Luffy does.
He does,
and also like, damn, the more I talk about it, Loki is kind of like the Damian Wayne of this.
Bro, he's literally he definitely so he reminds me, like he fits in. He has a little bit of Luffy, a little bit of Zoro, a little bit of Sanji. He's gonna be the fourth one. It's gonna become the monster trio is gonna be those three. Sorry, Jinbei, you're the old man.
I was gonna say, Jinbei, you're incredibly strong. I don't mean to disrespect you.
You lead the old gang.
Yeah, the merch situation is a tragedy, but also you are at your peak. We're still dealing with the young bucks who haven't even begun to peak. You know,
just think about it. Jinbei is a part of the crew that's the Brook, Frankie, Robin, Jinbei. Those are the old four, the old guard.
Yeah, they're dependable. They hold it down. They get it done.
They're the moms, dads, and uncles. Whereas the Zoro, Sanji, Loki, and Luffy, those are the rambunctious bunch. I'm very interested if Roger's crew had a fourth. Well, I guess the fourth would be Odin. I guess that's the fourth, which, you know, came in at the last minute, a la Loki, someone who was banished from their place because they didn't like him.
Someone who might have like a vital role to play, like that we don't even know is currently a part of the thing. But when we get up to it, we're like, oh, we could have fucking done this if we didn't have a giant or like an Oni giant, which, don't get me wrong, I think Roger might not have had, which might be part of the reason why he was like, damn, came too early.
It couldn't work. Yeah, true.
He was like, I needed my version of oars, and we don't have that right now.
Which, interesting enough, maybe that's why Whitebeard got oars, and maybe Whitebeard was like, nah, I don't want to be the king, and, you know?
But he was doing things in place for Ace, though.
He was. Why did he get oars? Good call, Versen. That was setting up for Ace.
And Ace and oars, much like hopefully maybe like Luffy and
Loki.
Ace, Oars Jr. were like, this.
Yep.
Oars was the first person in that fight to die for him or whatever, and he had no regrets about it.
And there's a reason why Blackbeard chose San Juan Wolf. I'm gonna go on your thing. Maybe you need a giant when you're going to Laugh Tale.
It's also possible that maybe he was like, San Juan Wolf's kind of dumb. Maybe he was like, is it a giant thing or is it a strength thing? And then he was like, okay, I'm gonna have Burgess in the back with the strength fruit.
Yep.
You know, that way I'm double covered because if it's
he's triple covered because he has Pizarro. And now if Loki joins the crew, now we can fight Blackbeard's crew with ease. With ease, because now we know someone can take on San Juan Wolf or Azaro Pizarro and have Frankie take the other one in his Megazord.
Yeah.
So I'm with it.
But yeah, I'm very interested to see how this is going to go on or whatever. I can't wait to see the next chapter. To see
Oh yeah, predictions for next chapter. Are we going straight into explaining Harold's death? Where do you think we're going with this? Or are we going to see Loki grow up? I think we're going to see Loki grow up essentially.
They do make it a point, and I think that's part of why we kind of skipped through a lot of Harold stuff, that this is Loki's
backstory. Yeah, not
it
Harold.
starts as Harold's, but it will become Loki's.
I think the important stuff for Harold is learning how he got involved with the government and what is exactly his involvement with the government. But that goes into Loki growing up and seeing, you know, what his dad did choices, which is why Loki respects rocks and all of this shit.
Yeah, and especially because like we end the very last panel that we see
him crawling up.
Yeah, well, not just him crawling up, but him walking out whenever he's like around, like maybe like 5 or 6, not quite a toddler, with his big fuck off staff, his club, and he's like, "I'm gonna cause a problem for everybody."
Yeah, on his own shit.
Yeah, you know. Which, by the way, Hardean, you've always been a little bit of a bitch, ain't you?
Don't do Hardean dirty. He's just a mama's boy, bro.
I know, I get it. Like, he was mad there's a new baby in the family, and he's taking out on him, but
also they don't respect his mom, so like he's I'm taking up for his mom. I would
have and have been similar for my mom, obviously. Under a single parent, like there was no one who say whatever you want about me. I didn't care. I grew up fat as a kid. I grew up whatever. I'm not saying it didn't affect me emotionally, but like it's something you get very used to, you know.
Facts, definitely.
But like the mom stuff or whatever, especially when people
can't help it.
Yeah,
it's a soft spot for me too, brother. I told Kirsten, like I saw when my parents got divorced, I saw my mom cry, so like that was burned into my brain.
But yeah, I think we're gonna take over Loki, and then maybe the 3rd chapter or whatever will probably be the reveal of Harold being like, "I did this all for you, Loki. I hate to say it, but yes, everything I did, everything you disrespected me for, I did it because I had to do it for you and for
to protect you. Yeah,
I didn't want to do it." But like they got some weird shit over there, Loki.
So you think he gets Domi Reversi?
Maybe. And then I also think that whatever it is going to be important for why Loki was like, I would never join the fucking God Knights. My daddy already told me about you people.
Good call. Great call. Yeah.
Like I would rather die 1,000 deaths, even though you're offering to unchain me, which is the one thing I want. I would rather die a free giant of Elbath than ever even contemplate joining you.
Also, Summers knew Harold, so I'm expecting to see Summers at some. Well, did he know he died? That's interesting. I don't know if because he said something like about funeral. So, oh no, he hasn't been here since Harold's funeral. So I'm expecting him to be involved in this somehow.
Yeah, like we'll maybe see a young one of him or whatever, which also might be a way that we partially lead into the time dilation. Because if he's been here for a while, he might not even realize like the difference in time. But like I could definitely almost see him being like a Cecil type, and I say this is someone who loves Cecil, but him walking up at the funeral being like, "Wow, that's so sad.
That's so sad
that your dad died." But you know, if you ever need to channel that immense power of that devil fruit,
come join the Holy Knights.
Yeah, hands him a business card.
I guess we can save this for next week, but let's start thinking of what's Loki's devil fruit power, because they keep talking about it, but we haven't seen it. Also, that was in the last chapter of someone stealing the legendary fruit. Do you think that's the Gumu Gumu no Mi that they tried to steal?
I think it's very possible. The only thing that I would say though is like at that point we'll have 3 gum fruits, because we can't forget Katakuri's little sister also has the literal gum fruit.
Oh no, I meant, do you think this is Luffy's fruit that they stole, and this is how CP9 ends up getting it before Shanks steals it?
Maybe, but like I just know that whatever his fruit is, it'll be close enough to Luffy's.
Oh yeah,
Luffy's that it can kind of throw him off the scent. Like, you know, even if it ends up being like, I mean, hold on now. So we have what presumably is a Paramecia with what's her dumbass's name or whatever with the actual gum fruit, unless it's secretly a Logia, but I'm pretty sure it's Paramecia. And then Luffy's was revealed to actually be a Zoan.
And then you have the special Paramecia of the Mochi, which is basically similar to.
Yeah, but I'm saying if we want to cover all 3, Loki could have an actual for a Logia. That's like maybe his is the actual rubber fruit.
Like Like he's the real rubber man.
Yeah, like a lot of people before Get Fi happened were like, maybe rubber, it's more like the sap fruit or rubber or whatever. His could actually be like, no, I am the living embodiment of actual rubber, like as an element.
What if that's why he was able to get lightning very well to his hammer and it doesn't hurt him?
Yeah, because it's just a property of his body. He doesn't give a shit.
Yep.
And why he'll be able to like mimic some of the things Luffy does or whatever. And that's why we have the destroyer fruit and we have the other fruit, because they're both very, very strong and can do whatever and kind of can mimic. And that's why we have different interpretations, because they're almost like twin fruits. It's just one is like more about being like a fucking cartoon character, and the other one is being like able to mold your body into whatever the fuck you want. Well, rubber destruction is how we got in this mess, because that's how Loki came.
And honestly, if he is that version, that could lead into why he can shapeshift, why he can bring his size down, why he can change some of his looks.
Yeah, he can compact himself super tight.
Yeah, good call. Good call.
You didn't laugh at my broken rubber joke, man.
Oh, I missed it.
I said that's why we're in this mess, because the rubber broke, and that's why we have, and that's why Loki's here.
I got you. No, they didn't even have rubbers back then. Harold was just.
You can use a sheepskin.
Real quick, do you think it's like Niagara Falls when he pees?
I don't think he's that big, but I do think it's like a localized storm. Do you think they have like a part of the island where it's like that's where he stood, so he didn't pee on all the citizens?
Probably,
he had
bro.
to.
He had to have something. Oh my goodness, that's where we go. That's the best shit though, of imagining these wild things in One Piece. But
for sure, like Oda has thought of it. He's thought of everything,
bro. If we are thinking of it, Oda definitely thought of it, bro. Like 100%. But hell yeah, we gave y'all a long episode because, like we said, we've been gone for basically a month, but now we're back in it. We'll be back. I don't think there's a break next week.
There is a break next week.
Oh, there is a break next week. So during break time, we'll probably come do some theory videos either on Shanks, Loki. We'll do something, dive deeper in some of these things. But hell yeah, Versen, tell the people where they can follow you at on social media.
Oh, I don't think we addressed it because it was in one of the chapters that we skipped over. But boy, I feel bad for Scopper, man. He thought he could end it right there. He was like just 1 second, and then they got him with his kid, just like they did Odin.
He's too slow, man. He's a little too old.
See, actually, I will say this. This is something I wanted to bring up when we were talking about Rayleigh and Scopper parallels. Because we see similar with like Amazon Lily. I think the thing about it is Scopper had all the physical ability to do it, but he didn't have the heart.
Rayleigh has the heart.
And it failed. Rayleigh could not do it, but he had the heart in it to put in the bluff.
Scare, yeah, good call.
And that's why Rayleigh succeeded on what should have been a definite loss.
Yeah, Blackbeard should have killed his ass.
Yeah,
that should have been the death of Dark King Rayleigh.
Yeah, and then Scopper was like, fucking did it, but they were about to kill my kid.
Yeah, it's his kid. That's his soft spot. And we're seeing with each chapter why Dragon kept himself away from Luffy, because they're using these kids as soft spots. I see your face. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying why Dragon made the choice he did.
Well, it didn't work out so well for Ginny.
No,
it wasn't his kid.
It did not. Not at all.
God, I'm so glad we're finally getting another flashback, by the way. Some of the most beautiful bits of One Piece.
Man, the anime for One Piece has been incredible. Like, we are into the best parts of Egghead. Like, if you're not watching Core 2, you are missing out, because there's not going to be any slow point of this core. There's not going to be any, like, filler shit. All of this shit is beautiful and sad and gas.
I purposely tried to stay away as long as I could. That way I could watch it all kind of back to back to back.
Yeah, same.
I got like 4 episodes in a row, and then I hit like whenever the new thing was, and I was like, damn, they're taking good time with this. And like they're making it to where every episode you get at least one of the, oh my God, that's the worst thing I've ever seen. Only for next week to then be like, oh my God, it's worse than the last
than we thought.
But yeah, you can find me at Versen the Vassal pretty much anywhere, or you can find me at Josh Druxler pretty much anywhere. I said this on the last show. With my twin for Manga Melee. I do have some disaster relief kit giveaways coming up. Me and my financial partner in that situation for one of the jobs that I work, we're still waiting on the funds to be allocated to us. Like it's all written up, everything's ready. We just need the funding to actually physically hit the bank
Need the
account.
deposit, yeah.
Yeah, but then after that, we're going to start amassing disaster relief kits, and
Okay.
we're probably going to do distributions, probably in like Lake Charles, Lafayette, and New
Are y'all taking
Orleans.
donations? Because I would love to, have Bros Who Think donate some stuff to that.
Yeah, we are taking donations, and
Okay.
we're trying to like bulk order stuff. But yes, we will also take donations, so I'll get in contact with you about that. Also, later on this year, I'll be going to DSA's national conference over in Chicago. So shout out to your boy. Because my chapter doesn't get dues funding, due sharing. If anyone wants to donate, it is on my Twitter. If you want to kick your boy a couple bucks, we are applying for the scholarships and stuff, but like isn't a ton of that money to go around, so I'm self-funding a lot of it. I will be for sure going. It's just basically if you want to help make it to where it's not as much of a personal
Easy.
expense, I would
Yeah.
appreciate that.
We're gonna put
And
those
then
links in the YouTube video as well.
And the last thing for me, I also recently started working for another group, and I will be doing Indigenous outreach. It is a pretty big deal for me. It's a good job. It's the first job I've had in like 2 or 3 years that actually has any sort of benefits,
Hell
like
yeah.
a proper W-2. Don't have to worry about taxes breathing down my neck. And also because of that job, I should be able to move to Lafayette proper soon.
Heck yeah.
I'm thinking maybe mid to late August. Just got to find a good apartment, and then maybe you'll see me and Lynn be able to do more stuff in person or whatever, because it'll just be easier. It won't be like, hey, am I driving an hour to go hang out with you, or you're driving an hour to go hang out with me? We'll be
Yeah.
like more like 10 minutes, 15 minutes or whatever.
Hell yeah, love to hear all that. Make sure y'all follow the V-Man. I'll have all the links that he discussed in the description of the YouTube video. Glad to be back, everybody. We are in it for sure. No breaks happening on the One Piece end. So glad to be back. You can follow me at LynBWT. Follow Bros Who Think at Bros Who Think. That's on Blue Sky, Twitter, wherever you get your stuff. The latest Bros Who Binge will be out by the time you guys hear this. The newest Bros Who Think podcast will be coming out this upcoming week. Jay will be joining Pharaoh and myself, and the latest Work Shoot show will be out this upcoming week. So be on the lookout for all of that. But and check out the latest episode of the Manga Melee podcast, and be on the lookout for their newest episode. But for Versen, my name is Lyn. Until next time, y'all have a good one, and peace.
Happy Pride, free Palestine.
Hell yeah.